Hey everybody, it's been a few weeks since my last video, and I'm putting one out to share a number of things with you. First is, I want to share a number of pickups that I've had over the last month. Second is an SGC reveal. Not a true reveal. I didn't send off cars to get graded. It was just a reholder, but I want to share some turnaround times with you on that. And then a little bit of a product review. Unsponsored, of course, but appreciate y'all watching, so let's get to it. All right, let's talk about some of the pickups for the last month. A couple of the projects that I'm working on are putting together Hall of Fame rookie runs for both football and basketball. And I've got a bit of a strategy as I'm putting this together that I'll explain as I'll do this. I did not have much in football or basketball at the start of 2025. But I've been working hard to put it together. A few weeks ago, I went to the Fort Lauderdale Card Show, which is a couple-hour drive from me, and I was able to pick up a few raw cards. So my first pickup is a 1970 Bob Dandridge, the 1969 Dave DeBusschere, who most known as probably a two-sport star. I mean, he is in the NBA Hall of Fame, but it's also a pretty decent pitcher in the 60s. And a Nate Thurmond from 1969. I'm slowly getting the 1969 Hall of Fame run put together. There's obviously Topps. It was Topps' first issue since 1957. Fleer had a set in 1961. So there are a number of Hall of Fame rookies. My strategy for this is to probably go raw for, nicely presenting raw cards for some of the lesser names, but the big names of the rookies, I'll likely chase graded unless I find really great looking raw, versions of the card. That was at a local card show. In addition to those cards, from the same dealer, I got this 1970 Kellogg's Bob Gibson card basically thrown in, which felt like a great deal. I have a number of Kellogg's cards, but the 1970, if I ever decide to put a Kellogg set together, it would likely be this one. But I thought this presented great, and for essentially being almost a throw-in for the price, it felt like a no-brainer to me. So over the last month or so, in filling out that Hall of Fame run, I realized I had a number of cards from obviously I was able to pick up a lot of those late 80s cards really inexpensively, but I didn't have much of the big names from that early to mid 80s window. And so I decided I better get ahead of it before things got crazy. So the first pickup I got that I was able to make was this 1984 Dan Marino. My strategy on these is to find the nicest card for the money. I'm going to buy it graded. What's running through my head is, if this is a card that's approaching $100 or more, to find something in the condition I want, I'm certainly not against buying raw. But for a card like this, insofar as having decent opportunity for upside and protecting downside, my take is buy it PSA graded in the most recent grade possible at the highest grade I can afford. So in this case, you'll see by the serial number, this was graded likely within the last 3 to 4 months, and it got an 8. And by going down this path, I realized, if I was chasing this card in a 9, I would probably be spending 3 to 4 times the money. This card looks great to me. And so, especially with PSA being stricter at its grading standards, I decided to let's just roll with an 8 from the cards of this era. So The first pickup I made was the Merino. And the second pickup that I made was the Elway. Again, pretty recent grade in a PSA 8. Really happy to get these cards sort of knocked off the list. We all have checklists of cards that are staring at us. And as I try to make the determination of what cards am I going to buy and what is the best approach for me, this is, that's sort of to have the decision made on the approach of how I want to attack this and then find the card that fit worked well. These were both eBay auction purchases. I want to say this was probably, the Merino was probably 140-ish. This was, I want to say in the 175 to 180 range. Certainly did not get a slamming good deal. I paid up for it, but for the grade, for the presentation, and I think the recent grading, it felt worth it to me. 1986 Jerry Rice rookie. Got this through, I believe it was SCP auctions. SCP more known for, I think, memorabilia. It's not one of them. No, check that. Huggins and Scott. My bad. Huggins and Scott auction. So Huggins and Scott, I think, is the it's the younger brother, I guess, to I believe either REA or Heritage. I think it's REA. So this obviously very recent grade. 1986s are super challenging to find in high grade, just because one, the color, the colorful borders can lead to chipping. Centering on these cards can certainly be an issue. But again, paid up for this. Certainly with the buyer's premium, it was $300-ish. Buyer's premium tax shipping is probably $300, which might be a bit of an overpay, but my take was I got it knocked out. And I'm happy I was able to get it. So that's the extent of the, I have one more Football Hall of Fame card. So obviously on the list, you go back into the 50s. I was able to get this Alex Karras in a 7 from 1959. Again, kind of worked out that it was a recent grade. This is just straight, it was an auction off eBay right out of the PSA vault. Someone was auctioning this off. I've been able to fill in a lot of these Hall of Fame cards. I don't have a ton of graded cards from this era. I've been able to find really nice cards in raw form to get this done, but was able to pick this up over the last, probably a week. It came in the mail direct from the PSA vault. As I mentioned probably on the previous call, one of my projects is to put together the 1952 Look and See set. I was down to just needing 2 cards to complete the set, and I was able to pick up this Julius Caesar in a 6. Again, not a super recent grade, but frankly, I don't care. This is one of the short printed cards, and just finding a short print graded that's going to work for me in a mid grade at a reasonable price is not an easy thing to do. I was probably coursing through eBay for months, waiting on something like a 5 or a 6. Again, I'm collecting this, a mix of raw and graded. Obviously, you can get some of the cards fairly inexpensively, super high eye appeal, good looking raw for a few dollars a card. But these short prints, are really difficult. And if you chase cards in a 7, 8, 9 grade, 9 is almost non-existent, but certainly 7, 8 grade, these are quickly approaching 4-figure cards. I was able to pick this up in a 6. Again, It's got some printing issues around the name, as you can see, but frankly, I really don't care. The back looks really nice to me. There can be tons of chipping around the back. So to get this in a 6, it fits my collection perfectly. So I am now down to just needing one card for the set, and that is the Ruth. And luckily, the Ruth is not a short print. It is by far the most expensive card in this set in a mid-grade. I would say this is going to be a goal of mine for Strongsville. Just to find a nice mid-grade version of this card. I'd love to find it in a 5. And if I can keep it under $750, I'll be really excited. But once I find that card, that set will be done. And that was about a year-long project. But this was a true needle in the haystack. This, your Earharts, and your Rembrandts. And there's a few other short prints out there as well, but these are really difficult to find. Again, about $100. I was pretty stoked. I got that at auction. One other pickup I got was, this was a bit of a chase for me as well, as indicated on one of my earlier calls talking about the sort of stuff I'm into. Growing up in Baltimore, big Eddie Murray fan. Eddie Murray has a number of cards from 1978. 1978, you've obviously got the Topps and the O-Pee-Chee. There's also a Kellogg's card out there, but he also has the Hostess card out there. And the Hostess card is pretty expensive. I remember bidding on one probably last summer. One of the highest grades that was out there went up for auction. It was a 9. And the comp on that card was around $800 or $900. And I put a 4-figure bid in to try to get it. And I ended up losing, thinking, boy, if I overshoot the highest sale ever to try to get this card, and I was realistic about it, knowing that the market was racing away. And if I wanted to get the highest copy of it, I'd have to pay up. So I put the 4-figure bid in, and I didn't win. And it ended up going for $1,300+. So any dreams that I had in the future of seeing one of the 3 9s I think that exist out there, it's in the single digits, the 9s, there are no 10s, is out the window. That said, while I still want to get a nice clean single copy of it, I also know I wanted to get the panel of it, and this panel came up for auction, and I ended up winning this, and I'm really thrilled to get it. I ended up probably getting it for a couple $100, so I'm pretty stoked, really stoked to have this one checked off. Some of the I don't know if these cards necessarily have printing issues, but I guess the gloss that is included on the packaging of your box of Twinkies over the course of 50 years can do some weird stuff to the surface of these cards. And so you'll see some cards that just sort of have weird looks to them. I don't know if I'd call them printing issues, but I just wanted to find something that that also looked nice. It didn't sort of have these issues, and I was lucky enough to find this one. Let's move these out of the way. I do want to share a small SGC, like an SGC reveal, and it's not so much a reveal, but a customer service and return story. So I had purchased a card over eBay. So as you can see, I've done some non-sports. And one of the cards I purchased was this King of Speed Churchman's 1936 Howard Hughes. So the Churchman's a cigarette company. This is a British cigarette set. Probably most known by people. Probably the most well-known card in this set is the Jesse Owens, which comes up for sale. It's a lot of race car drivers. Anyone that has done anything fast has a card in this set. And I picked up this Howard Hughes. September, October of last year, maybe. And so Howard Hughes, why was he on it? It's because, for those of you that know him, Howard Hughes has done a lot of things, but he was known as sort of like a proto test pilot. He was breaking airspeed records in the 30s as part of his sort of aeronautical obsession, of which he had a number of obsessions. And so when I bought the card, it had an error on it. And that's why you'll see this obviously this is not the label that came with it, but this card showed the SGC holder that the card came in showed it as a 1933 Churchman's cigarette, Howard Hughes. And for those of you that know the set, this is actually a card from 1939. Didn't lose any sleep over it. It's like, okay, it's fine. I mean, it's a beautiful card. It's an 8. You know, I love these sort of Art Deco era cards from the English sets. I think they're some of the sharpest cards out there. Mitchell and Sons has some sets from the mid 30s that are even nicer looking than these, I'd say. And you'll see it's the King of Speed set, but it's from 1939. So I had it in my collection, and it's like, I know that, you can pay a reholdering fee to get this done, but it is an error that SGC did, though I did not get this card graded myself. I bought it graded online. So I reached out to SGC over email, and I said, hey, I got this card that was holdered incorrectly. Y'all put the wrong date on it. It's not 1933, it's 1939. And I sent them an email to their general customer service just saying, hey, what would be involved with reholdering it? Would there be a fee for it? And there's been a lot of comments about SGC and customer service. So I just want to share the timeframes with you. It was about 2 weeks for me to hear anything from them. I didn't hear much. Obviously we've heard stories about how SGC is like at best understaffed, if not just being blatantly paralyzed or crippled or trying to be put out of business by their Collectors Universe parent company. But they responded and they said, oh yeah, we can reholder this for you with no charge. Just send us the card and we'll handle it for you. Get it, if you don't have an SGC account, get it set up, get the card up under your name, and then we'll get it done. So I sent it off on February 1st, and they confirmed receipt relatively quickly, and I got it back. It was supposed to have been dropped off at my house last Monday, so it was about a 6-week turnaround, door to door, to do a straight reholder. Didn't need to grade it, just to put a reholder on. So I wasn't home. I was working when they were going to drop the package off. This is not a very expensive card. Like it's not even a $100 card in an 8, but it required a signature, so I had to go to my local post office to pick it up. So this was the old label. I printed off a picture of the old card that I had showing the old label, and we now have the corrected label, and you'll see 1939 Churchman's cigarette. So what did it cost to do just a straight reholder? Well, time, which we all can't get that back, but I wanted to get this done. And then whatever to ship. Was it $5, $6, $7 to ship? Whatever it cost to ship it to them. But they did it for free, shipped it back for free, no issues. Frankly, I'm really happy with the customer service. I can only imagine, though, 6 weeks door to door to do nothing more than a straight reholder and not a grade reinspection. Clearly, they're probably in that easily 2 to 3 month window probably to get just cards graded right now. Not that I'm sending anything to get graded today, but just wanted to share that turnaround with you. Last thing I just want to talk about is a quasi sort of product review. So I've bought a number of Card Saver 4s. And for those of you that know Card Savers, There's different sizes. There's Card Saver 1s. So this Gibson I've got in a Card Saver 1. A Card Saver 2 is a smaller version of the Card Saver 1. Frankly, this would probably look better in a Card Saver 2 and not be out of shape. The other size is the Card Saver 3, which are good for these sort of tall boy cards. And then there are Card Saver 4s, which are what I'll call postcard size fits. And this is a Card Saver 4. This is an exhibit that I had picked up of the great Emlyn Tennell, but that I've had for a while, but more so just to show you, here's the product. So these are the Card Saver products, and obviously many of us know there are a number of companies out there that make semi-rigids, because Card Saver is a trademark name of the manufacturer. But these semi-rigids are made by a number of different companies. And so I ended up, as part of a broader order, I ended up going to the Pennysleever, and as part of a broader order, I had a project which really isn't sports card related, but it's more ephemera related. So bear with me as I show this to you. I have a number of postcards that have just been in the family for years. And these were not stored really well, but they are cards that that were received by really distant family members that are really slick. And you'll see, it's got the old stamp on it, but great grandparents, great-great-grandparents, whatever you want to call it. This has been in the family for years. They were not stored in good capacity. They were not stored in all that well. So I said, I really wanted to get something to sort of hold on to these, what I'll call quasi-family heirlooms. And these are really nice postcards as well, obviously just to look at it for the artwork and things like that. I mean, let's just say the postcards back then, a lot of these are embossed and they're nice. And by the way, and then there's a family connection to many of these. So it's great. So as part of that order with the Pennysleever, I bought a number, probably 300, of their version of these Card Saver 4 size, these postcard size versions of these sleeves. And I still had an old supply of Card Saver 4s that I just kept holstered, for, hey, do I buy another exhibit card or something like that in the future? What do I have? And I just want to show y'all a picture just to give you a feel for quality. And I've never did this before, but I had burned through all 300 of the Pennysleever versions of the postcard size semi-rigids, and I had a supply of the Card Saver 4s. And if you see right here, these are my Pennysleever versions, and these are my Card Saver 4 versions. So I'll just say, obviously, if you look at a Card Saver 4 versus a Pennysleever product, can you really tell anything on a one-off? Not particularly. But as these line up and store, I will just say, from a broad quality feel from them, Pennysleever just feels like they've got a better quality product than here. These look great, feel great. They certainly store better. I feel certainly comfortable about it. These just look odd. They're sort of sharper. I don't even think that I could put the same number. They're also just generally thicker. So seeing this comparison of, hey, what does one brand's semi-rigid look like relative to other brands' semi-rigid look like, in sort of a scenario where, hey, line them up almost. Pennysleever, Card Saver product. Take your pick. Frankly, going forward, if I ever need to buy semi-rigids, I'm probably going with the Pennysleever. Again, I'm not sponsored at all. I think I just wanted to I just wanted to share this with you. Thank you all for watching. I may do another video in advance of Strongsville, just talking through sort of the cards I'm chasing. But at a minimum, I'll be posting a few videos of Strongsville as well. See you later.